It's a very sad existence being average and mediocre. And I truly think that the number one thing that keeps people stuck in that kind of life is overstimulation, just numbing themselves with modern technology. That's an unacceptable way to live. It's the normal way to live, so it seems fine, but living like an average person has never been your goal anyway. So how do we actually overstimulate ourselves? It's through social media, porn, video games. When you think about how stimulating these things are, think about social media, Instagram, TikTok. So you're addicted to these platforms, you keep on scrolling, and every second is like a new piece of information. That fucks up your brain. That trains your brain to be able to hold its attention for 1 second. Because for 1 second, we're gonna look at this picture of ass, then we scroll, and you scroll like it's fucking nothing, and the next second, oh look, there's more ass, so now we need to focus on this, and the next second, oh look, here's a guy with muscle, oh look, here's Hamza and he's shirtless and he's doing the eyebrow thing again. You train your brain to be able to focus for literally a second when you use these platforms. Because of that, you then struggle in the rest of life where you really needed that sort of attention span.
The act of dopamine detoxing, the way that I did it, I am sure, and I promise you, is better than any other person who's ever spoke about the term dopamine detoxing before. I went on a dopamine detox for 2 weeks, and then I made a video about it. I made a video because it changed my life in just 2 weeks. Literally in 2 weeks, bro. I went from being just a normal guy who used to watch porn and masturbate. I went from being a normal guy who used to smoke weed very often and eat junk food and just waste time on Instagram and everything. I switched over to the dopamine detox lifestyle. I switched over to just a clean diet of literally just meat and vegetables. And for the first time in my life, I stopped procrastinating. I built a successful business. I went from being on benefits of government welfare. 1 year later, I started making £10,000 per month. A year after that, now we're on about 50, and it's drastically going to increase. And I will say that again, that's per month.
So all around, before I got into the dopamine detox, I had this horrible stuck feeling in life that I wanted to change. I knew what actions would help me. I just wasn't doing them because they were just too hard, because they weren't giving me instant gratification.
My hope with this video is that it spreads out, and that someone who needs to hear it watches it the entire way through. Because dopamine detoxing changed my life forever, and I didn't realize it was as simple as just stopping the bad habits, the instant gratification, and just doing the good habits. Consider a new chapter of your life, a new identity, where you drastically reduce how much of the instant gratification that you do. You drastically reduce all of the bad habits and suddenly just start doing all of the good habits. No matter how it makes you feel, you discipline yourself to just literally do all the good habits and just drastically try your absolute best to drastically reduce all of the bad habits. It must be all of them. And there's going to be a certain one that you really don't want to give up, and that's the exact one that if you gave up, your new life would just be unleashed. The reason why I'm saying this so much in this video, that one, look, there's something that you don't want to give up just right now. Because whatever it is in your mind of the instant gratification activities, whether it's video games or something, it's that one that's going to unleash this new chapter of your life. You don't realize how much you're missing out on up until you go 2-3 weeks without like your main crutch. Because when you do that, and you also have the sort of focus to go and do some of the good habits, you realize just how good life can be. And this is the key to self-improvement. This is the key to happiness, to success, money, whatever you want, bro. Chances are, whatever you want in life, I promise you, it comes from delayed gratification. Whatever you want to avoid in life, like being broke, being like an asshole to your family or to your partner, being fat, being unhealthy, all the things you want to avoid, bro, they're happening because of instant gratification. And all of the things that you want would happen if you dedicate yourself to delayed gratification.
The average person can't focus. Because of that, they don't perform well in school, they don't perform well in their careers. They're like average employees who make just enough money but always have that sense of like discomfort, maybe the possibility of getting fired, don't really get chosen for promotions. Maybe they want to start a business but they just can't seem to like do the work by themselves. That's very difficult. It's a very sad existence being average and mediocre. And I truly think that the number one thing that keeps people stuck in that kind of life is overstimulation, just numbing themselves with modern technology. And this is where it gets serious, because we're not talking about like, just like TikToks and stuff. Like, bro, I hated my fucking life. I lived that overstimulating life and my life was fucking trash.
The act of dopamine detoxing, the way that I did it, I am sure, and I promise you, it's better than any other person who's ever spoke about the term dopamine detoxing before. I'm not doing some 24-hour challenge or a week challenge to, do the YouTube video. This was for a life change. Like, I am never going back to normal life. If you adopt the same rules that I'm about to tell you, you will become different for life. You will never want to go back to being like a normal person. It sickens me to think of life like that again.
It's crazy that more guys don't do this, and as soon as I'm able to convince a guy to just try it, literally just try it for a week or so, within a few days they're messaging me like, I can't believe I've never done this before. Literally all young men should be doing this because we're all trying to strive for self-improvement to reach our purpose.
What I realized was that dopamine detoxing is not just about, reducing or eliminating the bad dopamine, the instant gratification activities, porn, video games and everything. It's also likewise equally as important, if not more important, of drastically increasing the delayed gratification activities. Because the reason, we're not just cutting out pleasure for the sake of it. That might be a good practice to do for, a sense of stoicism, but we're cutting out pleasure for purpose. When I went on my dopamine detox, I kind of changed it from dopamine detox to almost like dopamine reduction. Where I thought to myself, okay, I'm not just gonna do one day to reset my mind and then just go back to my normal fucking life because that would be horrible. I just suddenly realized that doing those instant gratification activities, porn, video games, junk food, scrolling on Instagram and everything, I realized that I had to just drastically reduce them, if not cut them out completely, for the rest of my life. I didn't see this as a 24-hour challenge or a 1-week little adventure. I saw this as literally the next chapter of my life where I'm no longer the kind of person who is still in chains by the modern overstimulation that we see today, by the short form content on TikTok.
The way that I do my dopamine detox, the way that it's been successful in completely changing my life, it isn't as sexy as doing a 24-hour challenge, which you can't do anything and you can only sit there and be bored. I knew that if I was going to do this for life, the rules had to be pretty lenient. And so in general, the rules come from drastically reducing instant gratification and drastically increasing delayed gratification. Instant gratification, the bad thing, are the activities that give us instant pleasure, but they're usually not good for us. That's video games, because video games are kind of fun when we play them right now, but they just make you into like a retard all the time. Porn, junk food, drugs. All of these give you instant pleasures, quite a high level of instant pleasures. Pretty much every single time you do any of these, every single time you indulge in one of these, your life gets slightly worse. Not a huge amount. You can take some drugs every now and then, you can watch porn, probably not, but the issue is that we've built up a habit of doing these every single day. And so your life trajectory is like this. That's what instant gratification does to you. That's why you don't love your younger self. That's why you look back and you think, I've had a shit life. This is why we don't have self-love, is because we keep doing this to our lives. How could you love yourself when you're here, looking back at yourself when you were up here? Delayed gratification is the other way around. Delayed gratification are the activities that are hard and uncomfortable and challenging right now, but they give us a long-term benefit.
The act of dopamine detoxing is just about stopping the bad dopamines, the bad habits that seem to give us a bit of a spike in enjoyment and pleasure today, like right now, but make our life worse in the long run. Eventually your baseline happiness just goes down and down and down, and this is why dopamine detoxing got so popular, because so many people's happiness baseline is just totally tanked. And so when this is you, for example, if you want to know some of these symptoms, so you know you're one of these people with like a lowered happiness baseline, the things that used to give you pleasure and enjoyment don't anymore. So if you found yourself still, playing video games, still doing whatever habit, maybe watching porn and stuff, maybe eating junk food, maybe taking drugs, but they don't give you like the same high as they used to. Video games aren't as fun anymore. You need to smoke a lot more weed to actually get like a high, and when you do get high, it's not even that nice anymore. The same with really any drug. The first time you used to start drinking alcohol, it was so lit, it was so exciting. Now it's like you drink just to get like to the old baseline. You drink, it's like, it's not even as fun. It makes you like just weird and groggy and angry, and you get way more of the negatives. The baseline just seems to decrease, and you're just not as happy as you used to be. It's a very, very sad place to be in, and I fear that a large part of the population, especially the young people, are struggling with this without really identifying the issue. Dopamine detoxing is extreme, and it seems to offend and insult the people who prefer to have a balanced lifestyle. And I don't say this to be insulting, but I know a couple of quite a fair amount of like successful people now. You see how many subscribers I've got, like, and obviously I've done networking with other people and everything. I don't know really that many successful people who aren't extreme. The people who want to live a balanced lifestyle often have like balanced results as well, and they make enough to like live but to still struggle in these times. This dopamine detoxing is a very extreme thing to do. It's like you want to change, you want to have a new chapter of your life. You're tired of being just like a normal person, and you want to become the 1%. You want to get to the point of your success and your wealth and your richness, that you're making so much money that you can help your family through these hard financial times, because that's not coming. When you're playing 1 hour of video games a day, that's probably not going to happen. If you have that level of need, of burning desire to like really be productive, you need to be extreme. So the way that I did my dopamine detox then was that I thought to myself, okay, I'm not going to cut out all of the instant gratification, because if I do, eventually I'll go back to it. So what I said to myself was that I would do a drastic reduction in the instant gratification activities, junk food, porn and everything. And I would, somewhat try to cut it out completely, but I wouldn't force that. I wouldn't see myself as a failure if I couldn't cut it out completely. I would just drastically try to reduce it. What I did, which I'm still impressed by, having been like literally just a procrastinator for all of my life, not a productive person. When I got onto this dopamine detox, what I did, which absolutely blew my mind, was I wrote down a timetable, like a schedule for when I would do things. 6 a.m. gym, 9 a.m. post-workout meal, 9:30 record, like every single day following the exact same thing. And of course, your day changes and life gets in the way, that's fine. But my idea was that if I write down my absolute ideal 10 out of 10 productive, crazy productive day, and I try and follow it as best as I can, and I end up following it for 50% of the day, that's still incredibly better than my usual days when I would just wake up and smoke weed, isn't it? In this timetable, at first, I allowed myself some bad time, some instant gratification time. And so I did the 80-20 rule, and I said, okay, what are the 20% of bad habits, the instant gratification habits that give me the most joy? Because you need to keep something in. Remember, we're not doing a 24-hour challenge that you can for 24 hours just sit in a room and do nothing, but we're doing this for life. And so for life, we've got to think about adherence, long-term, the ability to stick to the plan rather than just making it extreme, because we've got our entire lives to make it more extreme. If this was my perfect day, and I only followed it for 30% of the day, it's hard to quantify, but let's just say 30% of the day, that would still be better than the normal days I was having before my dopamine detox. But now I've kind of made the rule that, I'm going to try my best to stay away from the instant gratification activities that were taking so much of my time. I suddenly had nothing else to do than to just follow this timetable. Now again, of course, there was times when I just did the bad things. I spent an extra hour by accident just watching stupid YouTube videos, or some back then 2 years ago, I was on Tinder trying to get laid and stuff. So I'd be on Tinder, just spending time on Tinder, messaging a bunch of girls and going on to text messages and everything. But largely, I followed it as best as I could, and I started to see insane progress, not even in the business and the work I was doing here, and the money that I was making, but also in my physique, but best of all, in my mental health. I didn't realize just how much the instant gratification activities like video games, this is why I'm so heavily against video games, even though I know how fun they can be. I didn't realize how much it was negatively affecting my mental health up until I fully stopped. It was once I fully stopped and I stopped coping and saying what if I just play a little bit? What if I just make a new account on RuneScape and I start killing other people, I go do PvP, and what if I try this and this and this? Once I fully stopped coping, I had such a boost to my mental health because something's just clicked. You might not be able to relate to this if you still play video games, but a lot of the guys who have quit will relate. Something clicked. And I was like, oh, real life is really like a video game. Why have I been leveling up for thousands of hours in the virtual world when I can go level up in real life? What I realized was that even playing 1 hour a day wasn't okay. Playing 1 hour a day wasn't fine, because with just 1 hour a day, it's I would displace some of my masculine urge to improve and level up into the game instead. I didn't want that to sap my urge to level up. So when I completely stopped playing video games, it's like I still had this urge, you know, this masculine. If you're a man, you have this masculine desire to like progress, to level up. When that's not being stolen from you from video games, it's like suddenly just automatically you start making progress in real life. It's just how it works being a man. If you have no distractions as a man, you literally will just start making progress. But when you have distractions, when you have video games, when you have anime, when you have porn, your focus is just diverse everywhere, and suddenly your real life just goes to shambles. One of the best parts of being on the dopamine detox is that you just like to do the good habits because you aren't doing the bad ones. I actually had the desire to literally spend time meditating and journaling and just learning about mental health. I remember I literally just went on Google and started searching for like mental health lectures and everything. Then suddenly I just realized like, oh, mental health is a skill that I can level up. And now that I have time and energy, and I learned quite a lot like that. And to think that I'm 25, but like 23-year-old me was spending time watching mental health university lectures just blows my mind, because for most of my life, like, I wasn't into education. I always thought that I was like gay. I always thought I was like weird. The reason why I enjoy learning so much and reading books so much is because it's one of the most fun things that I do. If suddenly I played 1 hour of video games a day, if suddenly I went on TikTok or Instagram or watched porn, those things would be so fun and enjoyable. Even though, you know, we say those things are bad, the thing is, like, they are fucking enjoyable. They are extremely addictive, aren't they? They're so pleasurable to like our sort of animal brain that then you can't even enjoy the smaller things in life, like just reading a book. I can't explain like how much this transformation means to me. Like, I was literally just just a normal guy, just struggling with life and everything, and now I've become successful. I've become like the man of my house. I've retired my father. I've gotten my family's respect. I want that for you. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Mwah.